The key here is that understanding our buyer is not just a buyer, they are a person. And understanding that the buying journey that they're going through now, as complex as it is, isn't the only thing they do in their lives and isn't their only job, and in fact may be the least favorite part of what they're doing in their job is actually looking for a new solution that your solution is going to be a match for. So when we look at sort of the funnel, the customer engagement funnel, buyer persona, by the way, is only a very small part of that. One of the things I always often ask about buyer personas is like if we've developed buyer personas and it's like, oh great, now where's your customer, what are your customer personas? Like, well, that's the same. No, it's not. Didn't they change after they bought your product and get such amazing value out of it? Didn't their needs and wants change after they bought your product? Shouldn't they be different? Shouldn't we be addressing different values? Yeah, well, that. But more importantly, for our discussion here, audience personas. Who are they before they knew what they needed? Who are they before they actually understand that your solution is going to be one that they need? Let's understand them as people so that we can start to think about how we might solve challenges that they have before they actually understand that they're in need of a particular solution. Here's a great example of this. SAP, again, another big, boring software company. They're a client. We've worked with them for a number of years. And what I love so much about this case study is that how they actually changed and pivoted and got less wrapped around the axle of what they were trying to do. So they had a blog, and they still have it. It's their I think it's got a very, very catchy title, like the Customer Experience and E-commerce Experience blog, right? I mean, it's so SAP, it couldn't even be more SAP, but that's their name of their blog. It's basically their customer experience blog where they talk about software and CX and UI and how, you know, Hybris is this and all sorts of wonderful things about what SAP software does. And it's thought leadership and all that kind of stuff. And it's doing fine. It's doing wonderful, actually, from a performance standpoint. But of course, during COVID, nobody wanted to talk about CX software or e-commerce software or anything like that. So what they did was they didn't just go, you know what, that's our brand message, that's our messaging, that's our sales messaging, that's what we're going to do, we're just going to continue to talk about that. They completely pivoted the editorial based on what the customers wanted, what they needed. And because they understood their audiences, what they knew that the audience wanted at that particular moment was help with COVID resources. And so they partnered up with Johns Hopkins University, and then they switched the editorial completely. And so they started talking about how you're going to deal with reopening and how you're going to deal with COVID and how you're going to deal with this and how you're going to deal with that, how you're going to deal with employees, how you're going to deal with customer experience from a new digital experience, you know, all of those things regarding COVID. And what happened when they did that? Well, they're 200% growth in traffic. Yay, wonderful. Again, nice case study for the agency, but who cares? More traffic is what? Okay, but the interesting thing is 91% to 71% to SEO. So they actually went down in search. So that's usually a big red flag, like, oh my gosh, we're going down in search. But of course they are, because they're not even focusing on their keywords or key phrases anymore. They're going down in search traffic. The interesting thing is that 200% growth in traffic represented a 30% increase for return traffic. So people were becoming more loyal to that, more interested in what they were doing, coming back, taking action on every blog post that they were actually putting out there. Now, here's the punchline of the whole thing. They've pivoted back slowly over the last 8 months, and they've kept that audience, and they're getting more leads as a result of it. They're creating trust by building an ecosystem of content that addresses more than just driving some sales. They're actually adding value to their audience's lives. So the lessons learned here, content operations, big. It is the differentiating factor. Built around the idea that content creation and production are separate ideas. Pulling that in. Second, understand how you can start delivering value outside of what it is, your product, your service, your brand. Hashtag all the audiences. And then slow down that creation process. One of the big pushbacks that I often get from talking about content operations and workflow and how we're going to actually put this in. The biggest pushback I get is, well, it sounds like you're going to really slow things down. Yep. Wait for it. I'm going to slow down that content creation process. I want us to be much more thoughtful about stuff that gets put into production or put into content creation. Much more thoughtful. And then I'm going to exponentially show you how the speed is increased for reuse, repackaging, and management and findability of content on the backside. That's going to more than make up for the slowness that we put into creation.